Welcome back to Right Hand Drive Guys, episode 12. Today we're going to be talking about stacked exports and global auto. Where are we at right now, Aaron?
Somewhere over the Pacific Ocean.
On Japan Airlines Flight 008, headed back to Boston, ready to hit the ground running. So, earlier in the week, we took a trip over to Stacked Exports, and we went ahead and checked out the R34 GTT that I have in storage there until it's eligible next month for import. And it was pretty cool going over there. Like, immediately when you turn the corner and walk into the warehouse, you're like, oh, okay.
Right. It doesn't look like anything special outside. You know, it's in like a port area. It looks just like a random warehouse. Walk in and then mind-blowing.
Seriously. And so we were greeted by a really cool guy who I worked with for getting the GTT, and his name is Trevor, and he's got a little company called Keizo International Exports. And so he met up with us, and we trotted right into the warehouse, and we were then greeted by the owner of Stacked, which was pretty cool. Do you remember his name?
If you wouldn't have asked me, I would have been able to tell you.
Ewan.
Ewan,
Yeah.
yes.
And so he was a tall guy from New Zealand who had kind of inserted himself into the Japanese export culture long ago. He's definitely not new to this whatsoever.
Very cool guy.
Yeah, super cool guy, super welcoming, just wanted to chat. He really couldn't stop chatting with us.
Right. Yeah, I mean, we stood there in the middle of his warehouse for 30 to 45 minutes just chopping it up with him. It was cool. He was just telling
until I'm finally like, dude, let me see the car.
Right. You're like, dude, where is it? Come on.
Yeah. I wasn't trying to cut it short, but when you invest your money into something like that and it's so close, but you can't check it out, I just had to let him know I was ready to go.
Right. I could talk to that dude all day. Super cool.
He was cool, and he had that whole just chill aura about him.
Right.
Just wanted to hit up Weckfest with the boys.
Big New Zealander vibe.
Yeah, for sure. And so he actually had a car I'll let Aaron tell you about that he kind of gave us a little insight on. The only thing I knew about it was that it had a huge blower coming out of the hood.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not too sure what was totally up with it, but it was one of those 80 model Celica Supras, the MK2s, and it had a big blower sticking out of the hood. It really reminded me of those like Australian burnout competition cars. But it was definitely like one of those. It was definitely streetable. So, yeah, it was very cool to see. It had been all color change, and you could tell that like that was his pride and joy, and he really took that car and just did everything he wanted to with it.
Do you know? If you check out our Instagram, you can see pictures of this car. But did the back end come like that? The way that was inset?
No. So it was a hatchback, and usually they have this big long piece of glass, like any other 3-door car from that era. I forget the company that made it, but it had a different hatch on it that pretty much cut that entire section out. Reminded me a lot of like the BN Sports style hatch for like the 180s and stuff back in the day, where it had it got rid of that big whole back glass and just has like a little window, and that really changes the whole look of the back of the car. So I thought that was pretty cool, and it was kitted up, and it looked nice. I mean, even without the blower on it, it looked very cool.
Yeah, it was a nice like gold color.
Right. I'm pretty sure it was on Longchamps as well, which is like perfect wheel for that.
Yeah, for
that era car.
And he had brides in it, brids, however you want to.
Brids.
And so, it was just cool to see, like, his stuff, right? Like the owner of this company that puts out so many vehicles to so many people, like what he was actually into.
Yeah, I think that car matched his personality
100
perfectly.
Yeah, it really did.
Perfectly.
And so when you get to looking around the rest of the warehouse, there's just beautiful cars everywhere, and by everywhere I also mean on the walls. They literally have Skylines, S15s up on the walls on these holders.
Yeah,
and
that was pretty wild.
Yeah, they're just like literally stacked. And now I understand the name of the company.
Right.
And you know, there was all kinds of stuff, and Stagias, R32s, R33s, R34s, S15s, S14s,
Even a Mini Cooper.
And so we were just checking everything out, and finally we got the opportunity to check out my car, which was nothing less than mind-blowing for me, because Trevor did his best to explain the condition of the car.
Yeah.
And he was 100% downplaying the car, which is super rare.
Right. He's very particular, especially with the paint and the body. He's very specific and very thorough.
Yeah, I mean, I recommend him if you're going to try to pick up anything from Japan and you're not necessarily trying to work with a quote-unquote, like, dealer-style exporter, like, which what I mean by that is somebody who has stock. Trevor doesn't have stock. He goes out and finds you what you're looking for.
Right.
And he will do his absolute best on inspections and descriptions so you know exactly what you're getting. And I was super impressed. He like downplayed the car to me, and then when I see it, it's like immaculate. And I'm not just saying that because like it's a car I spent money on. If I was disappointed, I would say that.
Right.
But I mean, there was like nothing wrong with the car.
Yeah, no, and he actually pointed out one dent. He was like, I didn't see this during the inspection. I really apologize. Let me find it real quick. And he was having trouble finding it. I'm like, what dent are you talking about, bro? Like, where is this?
Like
nothing. And it ended up being this just tiny little spot on the fender, like not even worth mentioning pretty much to us in that sense. It's like, but it just shows like how thorough he is and how legit the guy is, because most people would just like let that fly and whatever. But he wanted to point out every single little thing. Yeah,
super stand-up guy, and he definitely takes pride, and that was what I noticed immediately, whether it was from his yellow Supra that he pulled up in that was 100% clean and like on cool. point, stanced correctly, like everything was awesome about it, down to, again, the car that I purchased from him, that when I actually see it, I'm like, holy moly. Like, I had just taken delivery of an R34 GTR, and I showed more excitement about an R34 GTT than I did about the GTR, because, like, I expected what I expected with the GTR, but with the GTT, he had, like, again, under-promised.
Yeah, and over-delivered.
Yes. And so, and this is no advertisement for him beyond the fact that he's a really cool guy. He spent, 45 minutes to an hour after, looking at the car and talking to you in order to just chat us up, and he had a family waiting for him back home. He drove 2 hours to meet us.
Right. Yeah. Caught a train and all that.
Yeah. So, to me, it's really about those things, not so much about, is the guy like super known? Does he have a bunch of clout? Is he gonna get me followers? Like, or anything like that. It's more like, wow, like this guy kind of keeps to himself. He does great business, and he shows up every time he says he will.
Yeah, and comes correct.
Yeah. So if you do want to go through that experience when it comes to importing a car, Trevor is absolutely the guy. I'm going to use him again. And that's no downplay to Top Rank for the GTR. It's two different experiences. Like I said, you have somebody with stock, and you have somebody who goes out and finds you that vehicle. And you can get a hold of Trevor on Instagram. When we post this, we'll definitely tag him so that everybody can kind of put a face to the name. But otherwise, at Stacked, it's really a lot of storage at the facility we were at. They said all these cars were going to port within the next 2 months or so.
Something like that, yeah.
So all the R34s in there were probably GTTs.
Right, most likely.
We didn't really look for the badging or anything.
Right. Everything was covered up as it should be, to keep the dust off. And, it was just an amazing place to be.
Yeah, and so beyond the cars, we really learned from Ewan about container exports and how that process works and what we would need to do if we wanted to start getting some containers coming in to the U.S. for us, which maybe that'll be something in the future.
Yeah, maybe so. And yeah, that was pretty cool, seeing how that whole setup is and how they queue the parts and just all that, and just seeing the boxes of whatever Brit seats, Recaros, BN sports body kits, Nismo wheels, all that stuff, just boxes stacked up and organized in these little cages, getting ready to get packed up. It was really cool. I kind of blew my mind because I didn't think it was anything like that, or I didn't really know what to expect on that end.
Yeah, and so that's really what I would call them, is logistical kings. While we're sitting there, okay, multiple trucks come in, pull up the back and just start unloading parts and putting them on this kind of entry platform. And so then
the quarantine area, they called it.
Yeah. And so then from there they get distributed to these cages, and the cages represent a container. And pretty much once the cages are full, boom, get it out of there, get it in the container, get it on its way to wherever it's going.
Right.
And so, of course, we get these parts in the United States and we buy them and we pay the premium, so to speak, and we really don't understand what it took to get those parts to us. And so to be able to do that and understand, wow, for example, at my house, these, this intercooler, Nismo intercooler kit was sourced, quarantined, distributed, exported, this whole process that the end user a lot of times just really doesn't.
Right. It's easy
understand.
to just think, you just click buy on the internet and it shows up and that's it, right? But yeah, there's a whole story and process on how that part even got to the distributor that you got it from in the States or wherever it might be.
Yeah, it's pretty cool to really start to understand some of these more intricate details of how the industry works.
Right.
And so, yeah, it was really cool to see all that and kind of gain that knowledge. That's really what we're after here, is the knowledge, not so much just the experience, even though the experience creates the knowledge.
Right.
Yeah, I think if you have the opportunity to go by Stacked, make sure you hit up Ewan first and make sure that that's something that's okay with him. I mean, he said he's there for 16 hours a day, 7 days a week or something.
Yeah, dude's a hustler for sure.
Heavy
in the game.
Yeah, and so a really good guy to know, and we were definitely blessed by Trevor for introducing us to Ewan. And hopefully, we can get back together with him and maybe get a container or something.
Yeah, that would be cool.
That would be cool. So, we did a lot of stuff on this trip. You'll hear about most of it on future episodes of the podcast. But I think probably one of my favorite stops was Global Auto.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that
Definitely
was cool. We pulled, we we pulled by and we see the big sign. If you know anything about Global, you've seen the sign. They advertise their GTRs first and foremost, and then Supras, RX-7s.
Right. They used to have a lot more of a variety back in the day, I feel like.
Yeah.
But now their lot is just completely 100% crammed packed full of some of the sickest GTRs that have ever rolled off the line.
Yeah, it was pretty wild to like see it in person. I had seen it on Instagram and stuff, and I mean, it really just does not do the place justice. Like,
right.
They really do it up. And so we pull around the corner and we see the skylines and stuff, and we're like, oh yeah, this is it. So I go and park mine, down the street where I can find some parking, and we walk up and are immediately just like, okay.
Right. We just start trying to find our way through these cars and just checking them out, and I'm pointing out, oh no, that's an R33 R-Tech. Oh, that's another R33 R-Tech. Like, that's a V-Spec 2, like all that. Like, everything. It's just like, what?
And so it didn't take too long, and a sales guy came out, and I fully expected him to be like, hey guys, like, can I help you? All right, get on your way, but that wasn't the case at all.
Yeah, no, Braden, it was his name.
Yeah, Braden Mace. And he's the like head sales guy over there at Global Auto.
Yeah, and he was super cool. He's an Australian guy that's been over there for, I think, 10 years now. He said he originally came over to start drifting and driving, and he's been there ever since. And
he did actually used to work at Stacked, and that was and Trevor knows him, and so Trevor said, yeah, go see Braden, go check that stuff out. And man, was he welcoming. He really, like, I don't want to say rolled out the red carpet, but he definitely rolled out a carpet for us, because he could have easily just brushed us off.
Right. Yeah, and he
did the opposite.
Right, he did the opposite, man. He came out and he was like, oh, okay, you guys are into this stuff, huh? You guys know what you're talking about. Let me show you all this insane stuff.
Yeah, and so he knew, like, so he says, oh, well, where'd you buy your GTR? And I said, Top Rank. And of course, like, you got to think, I mean, there's enough pieces of the pie for everybody, but there's also a little friendly competition when it comes to this type of stuff. So he was not disappointed or quote unquote mad that, like, I had purchased my vehicle from someone else. He was just like, he was actually like, hey, let me get a little picture of your car out front here, messing around, like he was gonna send it over to Top Rank to tease him.
Right.
But no, he immediately just starts showing us like everything on the lot, like anything and everything that like would blow your mind. He's showing us,
Right, and I'm kind of bummed. I didn't take many pics or didn't really do any videos or anything at this place, just because I was kind of in awe and just kind of sinking myself completely, into the place and just live in the moment, I guess you could say.
It's ridiculous. I've got a few, and it's just crazy. Like the V-Spec 2s, like I can easily count 6 V-Spec 2s just off the rip. And, there was, again, R32s, R33s, and of course R34s. And this lot was packed.
Right. No walking room at all.
No, like of course we're insanely respectful when people invite us into these places. So it was like, I'm tiptoeing. I'm like, yo, I need to lose some weight in my calves because I can't even get through these bumpers, man. Like, how this guy does it on the daily blows my mind, because we're not trying to leave any mark of us being there.
Yeah, no way.
But so he's bringing us through, and he's like, oh, there's one of these, there's one of these, there's one of these.
Yeah, Nismo this, Nismo that.
Oh, Nismo,
S1.
Yeah.
Whatever.
And so he like brings us over to this R32 that or yeah, this was after, but still, he brings us over to an R32 that is just gorgeous,
immaculate.
Oh my god,
Black on black.
Yeah.
And I'm not a fan of black cars necessarily, especially with black wheels, but this thing was next level. I mean, the paint was like a mirror.
Yeah,
like,
and he said it just got back from Omari factory.
Yeah.
Getting the full quote-unquote Omari treatment.
Right.
And I'm like, so what is that?
Right.
And he's like, everything.
Everything. I mean, the thing even had a titanium hood prop.
Yes, seriously. Like, in, you know, the wrinkle red, you know, coating on everything that it needed, you know, on the valve covers, on the front cover and all that, yeah. Even on the intake manifold.
Right,
like,
right. It was so nice.
Beautiful, and he's just like, so you need an R32? We're like,
right.
Not this one, buddy.
No
we can't
way.
imagine that price tag. And then, yeah, it was the, I have a cool video here, which is on our Instagram. You know, he just lifts up the hood on this R34. Boom. S1.
Right.
Just like rare of the rare S1 package on an R34.
Right, right. And, you know, it has the Nismo tag right there on the radiator support and just...
the whole nine.
Yeah,
and it was a gorgeous
legit.
Bayside blue car.
So legit.
Like, so, you know, you think about guys like us who, you know, obviously haven't been able to be exposed to these different R34s beyond the internet, right?
Right, right.
And so now this one guy, Braden Mace, shows us the best of the best.
Yeah.
Just off the rip.
Right, yeah,
Like,
yeah, it was insane. And his boss, you know, the guy that owns the shop and runs the place, you know, he has a very specific recipe with these cars. And it's cool to see, you know, all the cars are on either LMGT4s, T37s, or BBSs.
Yep, every single car has
every
one
single
of those
car. And, you know, same with the engine setup. It's like, for the most part, it's pretty much the same thing with an HKS FCon.
Yeah.
And it works.
A lot
and
of
it's beautiful.
2.8s.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, they're nice cars. And
very well put together.
And he was talking to us about the boss's collection.
Yeah.
You know, which he didn't get too specific about. He wasn't blowing the boss's load or anything, like, you know, telling all the secrets, but he said the boss has a very beautiful collection that he's been working on for 20 years.
Right.
And that to me was like, okay, that's why all these cars are on TEs or LMGT4s, because the boss is actually a car guy.
Right.
He's not just flipping the cars.
Right, yeah, it really shows in their lot and their inventory and how they do things and how they just how they operate.
That he's legit. And
right.
So that was awesome to hear. And Braden was telling us, you know, the boss has a little you know, honey pot of LMGT4s and different wheels, just brand new, just
Nissan heritage parts in general. You know, he said
they were everywhere.
Right. You know, he said whenever Nismo is releasing these parts, he'll call them up, order 20, 30, 40, whatever he can get his hands on, you know, just to stack up and, you know, just so he can have that back stock to be, you know, refreshing these cars that come in, because I think that's also what they do. They do a little bit of restoring on the...
You can tell because none of them are worn like at a lot of other places, even though they are sitting outside.
Right. You know, like the valve covers are all fresh. You know, the engine bay is just clean and pristine. I mean, you can tell that a lot of work and a lot of pride goes into these cars, and it's amazing.
Yeah, they had one vehicle on the lot that was not a Skyline, and it was an Evo. And I'm like, hey, dude, what's up with the Evo? He's like, oh, that was a trade-in.
Right. Yeah, we're looking to get that out of here soon.
Yeah. I'm just like, wow, okay. Like, you know, whereas, shoot, I would be super happy to have an Evo on my lot, but then again, I don't know if my lot would have 37 of the best Skylines, you know.
Yeah, it was insanity.
And so when it comes to purchasing your R34, R33, R32, if you are looking to go that route of, in stock dealer purchase, I mean, of course I love Top Rank. That's where I purchased my vehicle. But Global Auto is no slouch. Like, head over to whether it's the website, if you can make it there in person, see Braden.
Yeah.
Tell him the right-hand drive guys sent you.
Yeah.
For sure. Not that that's going to help you, but just let him know we're shouting him out.
Right.
But, because we really had that great experience. Like, we walked away from our conversation with him with a lot more knowledge, which, again, is like what we were even in Japan for. But we walked away with a lot more knowledge. We walked away with a great experience. We met a new friend. Braden ended up hitting us up multiple times after leaving there, just trying to get us to go to a car event that we would enjoy.
Right.
Like, purely
really
for
cool.
the enthusiast. He was just like, hey, guys, if you can do this, hit that. Oh, you guys can't hit that? Well, what about this? Hey, this is also going on. And when you're in Japan, especially, like, alone, quote-unquote, without somebody that's been there before, like, that's huge to have somebody willing to invest in you like that.
Yeah. It was really cool, and there's always something going on, it seems, and it's
in Japan.
Yeah, Japan it's kind of crazy. Like, during the week, there's track days or drift events or whatever it might be, and you wouldn't know unless someone told you.
Yeah, and it turns out he's actually a well-off drifter in the sense of skill.
Yeah,
he's good. His S15 is gorgeous.
Yeah, it's so sick.
It would fit right in on the lot with those GTRs.
Right.
Like, and I couldn't believe he's drifting that thing. I'm like, seriously? Like, that is a beautiful car. But hey, if you're good, you can drift a beautiful car, right?
Right.
And so, yeah, that was a really cool experience, and he's a really awesome guy. We'll tag him also in this on Instagram so that you can go check him out, see what he's doing, like some of his drift pictures. Hit him up if you want an R34. He's probably going to be able to help you, and if he can't, he is way cool enough to point out somebody else.
Yeah, I think so as well.
And so, the basis of this episode was really to shout Braden and Trevor out and, like, let people know that maybe are car enthusiasts like us, that there are car enthusiasts like us working over there.
Right.
And they want to have these conversations with you. They want to form this relationship with you.
Yeah. Those dudes were definitely awesome. They welcomed us with open arms and, definitely made our experience top notch.
Yeah, I don't think, and I know it sounds funny, but I don't think that our trip, for me personally, would have been quite the same if we hadn't have been able to have those, like, real talks with these guys, like those, like, genuine, like, car guy talks, right?
Yeah.
Because there's a language barrier with a lot of these other car guys, which obviously we're in Japan, and Trevor actually is we're from New England, and Trevor's actually originally from New England, and I didn't realize that until this conversation with him. I'm like, seriously? Like, you're from where we're from? I talking to him on the phone prior while purchasing the car and stuff. He's kind of developed an accent for being over in Japan for so long, and so I had no idea that he was from where we were from. So that was also another instant connection, and he's a guy that I trusted him before, but the fact, when you can relate to somebody like, oh, shoot, you had to grow up in these crappy winters too.
Right.
Yeah, nice. Yeah, no, you're cool, man. And then meeting a U.S. guy who transitioned to Japan.
Yeah, that was cool.
And now is making a living, supporting his family.
Right, and just hearing his story, how he got there, was cool.
Yeah. And we'll probably have him on the podcast at a later date. We're going to start including some of these people that we've met, because we really feel like, these valuable experiences that we've had with them can transfer to our audience also, and kind of give an insight on just what it took for these people to get where they're at and doing what they love, and it was the main kind of theme with all of these guys that we met, they're like doing what they love.
Yeah. Yeah, and at the end of the day, they're just dudes like us.
Yeah, and we're just dudes like you.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, that's going to wrap up episode 12 of Right Hand Drive, guys. Don't forget to follow us on Instagram at RHDGUYS, and you can also find our podcast on our website, rhdguys.com. For now, I'm Bobby. This is Aaron.
See ya.
Peace.